This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to Asean in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles coming to you live from Manila and from Cambodia. Here's Crystal. Hello, Crystal.
Hello, Alma. I am Crystal Ann Ballesteros from your EBC Cambodia Bureau, bringing you the news in the dynamic Asean region.
On today's headlines. The Philippines' first batch of 193,050 doses of Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine donated through the World Health Organization WHO-led COVAX facility arrived Monday night.
A judge ordered Myanmar's deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi to appear in person in court for the first time on May 24. Her lawyer says after weeks of delays in her case.
An elderly French-Vietnamese woman failed Monday in her bid to sue Monsanto and other makers of the toxic chemical agent Orange over its use by the U.S. as a weapon during the Vietnam War after a French court ruled that the companies had legal immunity because they were working for a sovereign government.
Philippines' GDP shrinks by 4.2% in the first quarter of 2021.
First, we go to breaking news. The health ministry here said the Philippines has detected its first 2 cases of a coronavirus variant first identified in India. The World Health Organization has classified that coronavirus variant, known as B1617, as a variant of global concern, with some preliminary studies showing that it spreads more easily. Now, Alethea de Guzman, director of the ministry's Epidemiology Bureau, said the variant had been confirmed in 2 Filipino seafarers who returned in April from the United Arab Emirates and Oman. De Guzman said we all need to continually monitor what other variants we may be able to detect locally, as well as monitor the spread of these variants we have already detected, unquote. The World Health Organization, as I said earlier, has already classified this B1617 or the Indian variant as a global concern, with some preliminary studies showing it spreads more easily. And in a bid to prevent the entry of variants, the Philippines has already temporarily barred travelers coming from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bangladesh from entering the country. Next, a judge ordered Myanmar's deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi to appear in person in court for the first time on May 24, according to her lawyer, after weeks of delays in her case. Take a look.
The presiding judge declared that by the instructions of the Union Supreme Court, the cases were to be heard in person, not virtually by video conferencing, in the next adjournment. Township judge was to sit at a special courtroom that will be prepared in Seya Thedi Ward, Nyanan Bonda Street, near the Aung San Suu Kyi's home, on 24th May. All 5 cases were to be heard in that courtroom. All these 3 persons seemed to be in good health in the video conferencing. I also requested the judge to make it when the court convenes in person, to make the meeting happen in private between the judge, between the clients and the lawyers. Aung San Suu Kyi and all the 3 leaders didn't seem to be in full grasp of the situation. They may get some chance to read the government-issued newspapers like this and the government TV channels, maybe. But even that, we're not sure.
The Nobel laureate has not been publicly seen since she was detained in a February 1 coup when the military ousted her from power and reinstalled its rule. The 75-year-old former leader has been charged 6 times since her arrest. The charges include flouting coronavirus restrictions during last year's election campaign and possessing unlicensed walkie-talkies. The most serious charge alleges that she violated the country's colonial-era Official Secrets Act, a case that is pending in a court in commercial hub Yangon. The junta has also accused her of corruption, though no charges have been filed, alleging that she received bribes of gold bars and cash, and the junta has continuously justified her arrest and the coup as a way of defending the democracy, alleging electoral fraud by her National League for Democracy party, which swept November's elections in a landslide.
Myanmar's mixed martial arts star, Aung Lansang, known as the Burmese Phaeton, has spoken out in support of a fellow fighter injured in a bomb blast in their coup-hit homeland. An explosion in a Yangon gym last week left MMA fighter Pho Thao with injuries, according to the state media, who blamed the blast on him and said he was arrested. But Aung Lansang, Myanmar's most famous athlete, known for his powerful chokehold that earned him the nickname the Burmese Phaeton, has defended Phu Thao on Instagram. Quote, "As long as I've known him, he's a gentleman and good-hearted human being. Please try not to spread fake news and hate," said the former one championship middleweight and light heavyweight champion, who is currently based in the US. Quote, "The fighting that we do in the circle is nothing compared to what's going on with the people in Myanmar right now. Stay strong and stay united." Before his arrest, Phu Thao was among hundreds of celebrities and influencers wanted by the junta on charges of spreading news harming military personnel. Vocal on social media, he regularly posted pictures of himself leading protests in Yangon. After he was arrested, a photo was posted on Phu Thao's Instagram feed on Friday, showing him entering a ring with the caption, "I am strong," and the hashtag "never give up. In response, Aung Lansang commented, "I'm praying for you and thinking of you, brother." Despite his distance from Myanmar, Aung Lansang has posted updates on his country's situation, highlighting the arrest of civilians, the violence against protesters, and the lost lives. The junta's Myawaddy TV later claimed Thao was arrested in hospital after sustaining injuries while testing a homemade bomb at his Yangon-based gym.
Meanwhile, the vaccination rollout gains full steam as the Philippines is now second among Southeast Asian nations with the most number of coronavirus vaccines administered. In a report by National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer and Vaccine Czar, Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., data shows that as of May 10, the country has administered a total of 2,409,235 vaccine shots, more than 2 months after it started its vaccination campaign. Take a look.
Kung titingnan po natin, noon dati po, nasa pangatlo po tayo. Ngayon po, mahal na President, na number 2 na po tayo. Dahil umangat po ang ating daily average. Noon dati po, ang daily average po natin is only 34,418. Sa ngayon po, yung 7 average po natin, ang last 7 average from May 1 to May 8, tumaas na po tayo, nadoblado po tayo ng 65,879. So nakakatuwa po dahil kasi talagang na tumataas na po tayo. And then number 41st na po tayo out of 94 countries and rank 15 out of 47 countries in Asia.
Since the Philippines started the vaccination rollout on March 1, a total of 2,409,235 persons from A1 to A4 priority groups have received at least one dose of the vaccine. And this is followed by Indonesia with 21,993,299 total doses administered since the rollout on January 13. Both countries are currently using Sinovac and AstraZeneca vaccines. Now, the Philippines recently began the rollout of Sputnik V vaccines from Russia and is set to begin the use of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine that it received on May 10. As of today, at least 3.7 million doses from the country's inventory are donations from COVAX and China, while over 4 million are government procured.
Still in the Philippines, first batch of 193,050 doses of Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine donated through the World Health Organization, WHO-led COVAX facility arrived Monday night. Take a look.
Merong indemnification fund na pinrovide ang batas natin at yung mga issues on indemnification na naging source ng pag-uusap ng Pfizer at ng Philippine government ay naresolba na. Kaya ngayon, nandito na ang Pfizer.
Just the start of a new chapter, in our fight together against COVID.
According to the Department of Health, or DOH, the first batch of Pfizer vaccines will be distributed in COVID-19 high-risk areas within Metro Manila, Cebu, and Davao. To date, the COVAX facility has already delivered 4 shipments of vaccines to the Philippines as part of a global initiative to ensure equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines to low and middle-income countries. The COVAX has already sent 487,200 doses on March 4, followed by 38,400 doses delivered on March 7, and the third delivery consisting of 2,030,400 doses arrived on May 8, all of which are of the brand AstraZeneca. The newly arrived vaccines were immediately transported to the PharmaServe Express cold chain storage facility in Marikina City. The Pfizer vaccine requires a temperature at negative 80 degrees Celsius to negative 60 degrees Celsius prior to dilution.
And staying in the country, the Department of Health will file an emergency use of authorization or EUA application for the Chinese COVID-19 vaccine, Sinopharm. In a briefing on Monday, May 10, DOH Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere said they're only waiting to receive Sinopharm's documents from the World Health Organization before applying for an EUA. She also said that they are coordinating with the Department of Finance regarding the matter. The WHO approved the emergency use of Sinopharm on May 7. With this, the vaccine can now be included in WHO's COVAX facility that provides free vaccines to the country. The WHO's approval of Sinopharm will hasten the access of its EUA application.
The Octa Research Group on Monday urged the government to remain cautious in deciding on new quarantine classifications come May 15 to sustain the fruits of the strict community quarantine in the National Capital Region, or NCR. In a Laging Handa briefing, Octa Research Fellow Professor Ranjit Rai said their group would support the government whether it extends the Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine, or MECQ, for 1 to 2 more weeks. Let's listen in.
The trend is downward. The trend is downward for the whole region and the NCR plus. And this is good for all of us. But as we have also noted, the average daily attack rate is still high for many cities in in the NCR. In fact, only Navotas is below the critical level. So this is something that we need to look into. Second, the positivity rate is still high at 14%. Okay, and we're hoping that in the next few days it will further improve. A third thing that we need to also look into, as Dr. Butch has also mentioned, is the fact that ICU occupancy is still quite high. So yes, we are healing. Yes, we're trending in the right direction, but we're still not yet there. So if it was purely, and we can understand, no, if government will have discussions about extending the MECQ, really because we need some more time to heal. We also need some more time for government interventions, so like such as contact tracing, and of course expansion of hospital capacity. Okay, so number one, we will support whatever government decides. Okay, what we're suggesting is caution. What we're suggesting is a calibrated, slow, exit strategy, so that we can sustain the trends. Now, whether it's a GCQ or an MECQ, the terms don't seem to be as accurate as we understood it last year. What we have now is a very, very flexible MECQ. To answer Red's question, context is important. We are trying to prevent the entry of these new and more contagious variants, very specifically from India. We don't know what the situation is with the sequencing as far as the 5 individuals who tested positive coming from India. So we want to await that. That's one that's one area of caution that we want to focus on. Number two, government is trying its best to roll out improvements in its COVID response. And many of these improvements will require infrastructure, the training of contact tracing workers, expansion of hospital facilities. And this will take time. This is why it might be prudent to consider an extension at this point. Of course, what we feel is important is that the industries, while if we decide to extend for a week or two, the industries that are closed down now can slowly, in a calibrated fashion, be opened up.
President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to announce the next quarantine classifications next week. However, the IATF EID has yet to meet to present its final recommendations of quarantine classifications.
Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said there is a good chance that Metro Manila and the 4 nearby areas, or the NCR Plus, may shift to less strict general community quarantine or GCQ status by May 14. This following improvements in the country's healthcare utilization rates. Again, let's listen in.
Rinirespeto po namin ang mga rekomendasyon ng OCTA. Pero ni minsan po, hindi kami nagdedesisyon base sa rekomendasyon ng OCTA. Dahil ang datos naman po nila galing din sa DOH. Ang lahat po ng desisyon ng IATF upon recommendation ng mga experts na kasama po natin sa IATF, kasama na po yung mga eksperto na nasa DOH. So wala pa pong desisyon. Ang desisyon po talaga is a collegial decision. Pero kung i-apply po natin yung formula, tignan nyo po, nasa moderate na yung ating healthcare utilization rate. Tapos yung ating attack rate, bumababa na rin po. Yung ating R0, less than 1 na po. Ang importante po, makamit natin ang total health. Kasi kung ang iiwasan lang natin ay yung mga magkakasakit sa COVID o mamamatay sa COVID, mas marami po kasi ang posibleng maghirap dahil sa kahirapan habang tayo po ay nakasaradong ekonomiya. Ulitin ko po, maraming salamat po sa OCTA Research sa inyong mga rekomendasyon. Pero ang katotohanan po, ang pinakikinggan talaga, eksperto ng DOH. At sana po, maintindihan nyo yan dahil hindi lang po DOH ang nagbibigay ng recommendation. It's an entire government approach po. So pati po yung mga economists ng NEDA, pinakikinggan natin dahil sila pong nagsasabi na sa cost-benefit analysis, in the end, baka mas marami pong mamatay sa gutom o mas marami pang mahirapan dahil po sa pagkagutom pag pinahaba po natin ang lockdown.
Despite the possibility of easing NCR Plus quarantine status, Secretary Roque said borders will remain closed to prevent the spread of new strains of the coronavirus. Currently, foreigners, except diplomats and healthcare workers, are still barred from entering the Philippines. Foreign parents, spouses, and children of Filipinos may enter the country provided they're traveling with a Filipino principal and have a valid entry visa. The Philippines has barred travelers from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka until May 14 to curb the spread of the reported double mutant coronavirus strain found in India.
Still in the Philippines, the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, is looking at extending voting hours in next year's national and local elections by at least 2 hours. In a virtual forum on Monday, Commissioner Antonio Cos said the previous 8-hour voting period is no longer applicable to the current situation. He said the number of voters who will cast votes per precinct will also be limited to avoid crowding. He said voting hours will be extended probably up to 10 or even 12. It would also depend on the teachers, he said, but chances are it would be a one-day elections but with an extended period. Meanwhile, Cos said they are also planning on reverting the number of voters per clustered precinct from 1,000 to 800 or even lower. On the other hand, he said they are also looking at the possibility of acquiring more VCMs to be used in next year's polls. He said the COMELEC is expected to finalize the guidelines for the 2022 polls by the end of May.
And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Crystal and I will be back right after this break.
Hello there. Imagine Demi got the virus, and she infected 2 more. And those 2 infected a lot more of people. And it goes on and on until it became an epidemic. But what if Demi stayed at home? Then those 2 wouldn't have contracted the virus. Then those people would have not been infected. This is not just your battle, it's everyone's, and you can be a huge help. Follow social distancing, or better yet, stay at home.
Kumanta, sumaya tayong lahat. Saya-saya.
Back here in the country, a magnitude 5.3 quake jolted Davao Occidental early today, according to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS. The tectonic quake struck 87 kilometers southeast of the municipality of Jose Abad Santos, Davao Occidental, at 1:25 this morning, and it had a depth of 72 kilometers. The following instrumental intensities were recorded: Intensity 2 in General Santos City, Intensity 1 in Gingoong City, Misamis Oriental, Coronadal, South Cotabato, Kiamba, Sarangani. Instrumental intensity is measured using an intensity meter that measures ground acceleration. Meanwhile, PHIVOLCS said aftershocks are possible. While damages are not expected from this earthquake, based on PHIVOLCS scale, damage starts at intensity 6.
Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin said Muslim-majority Malaysia will tighten coronavirus curbs across the whole country ahead of the Eid-al-Fitr holiday as cases spiral. The new curbs, Muhyiddin said, will kick in on Wednesday, a day before the country celebrates Eid-al-Fitr, and remain until June 7. While all sectors of the economy are allowed to carry on, social events such as feasts, house visits, and wedding receptions will be banned during this time. The move comes after authorities declared a slew of curbs limiting movement and social events in many places across Malaysia recently, including a partial lockdown in the capital. People will not be allowed to cross state or district borders, and not more than 50 will be allowed inside large mosques or more than 20 for smaller ones for special Eid prayers. Schools and universities will be closed except for those sitting for international exams, though childcare centers and kindergartens will be allowed to open. Malaysia has seen a less severe outbreak compared to other countries, recording a total of more than 444,000 infections and 1,700 deaths since the beginning of the pandemic. But the regular spike in infections and the arrival of virus variants, such as from South Africa and India, has worried health officials as the number of available beds and ventilators start to run out. The Southeast Asian nation has been battling a fresh COVID-19 outbreak since early this year, seeing thousands of new infections as the government declared a state of emergency to slow the spread of the virus. Controls were slowly eased as the infection rates fell, but case number regularly spiked past 4,000 a day as schools and special markets during the Muslim fasting month of Ramadan were allowed to open.
And we have more updates on the coronavirus situation in Malaysia. Here's Alfred Balmes joining us live from our Kuala Lumpur bureau. Hello, Alfred.
Hello, Alma. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
According to the Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, Malaysia will be placed under the Movement Control Order from May 12 to June 7 due to rising COVID-19 cases. The main reason for this is the increasing daily cases, which now is exceeding 4,000 cases, with 37,396 active cases and 1,700 deaths as of May 10. Malaysia is facing a third wave that could break into a national crisis. Muhyiddin also said data and science show that gatherings make social distancing difficult and that large groups in closed spaces are the leading cause of the COVID-19 spread. He also added that the chain of infection can only be broken with the public remaining at home by enforcing stricter movement control. All the interdistrict, and interstate travel will be prohibited unless for work and economic purposes or because of health matters, emergencies, vaccination appointments, and long-distance couples. Mass gatherings such as face-to-face seminars and meetings, weddings, dinners, and talils, as well as official government and private events are prohibited. However, akad nikah ceremonies will be allowed following the set SOPs by the State of Islamic Agency for Muslim and by the National Registration Department for Non-Muslim. The restriction order also imposed that the 3-person limit to private vehicles that are part of the industrial and economic sectors will have its passenger limited based on the relevant licenses. He also said employers must enforce a from-home order with no office at any one time. Hari Raya celebrations are completely prohibited. These include visiting friends and relatives and graveyard visit. Meanwhile, Hari Raya prayers will be allowed but limited to only 50 people inside mosques and suraus that can accommodate more than 1,000 people. For those that can accommodate less than 1,000 people, a limit of 20 people be enforced. This limit will be enforced for regular prayers and private prayers as well. The ban of interdistrict, and interstate travel, as well as social, sport, and education activities has started on May 10 and will last until June 7 as previously announced. For the rest of the listed instruction, it will be imposed in starting May 12 until June 7. The Prime Minister, however, said that throughout this national MCO period, all economic sectors will remain operational. As a precaution, the government will continue using the HIDE system to monitor the premises and hotspot. Muhyiddin appealed to the public to remain disciplined and continue to obey the set SOP to break the chain of infection, saying that the best course of action was to stay at home. Also, Malaysia have flattened the curve during the first and second wave. He strongly reminds everyone that the third wave that the country is currently facing now is more fierce and critical. He quote, "We have not won. God willing, we will beat this virus." Back to you, Alma.
Thank you very much, Alfred. You do take care. And of course, we will be looking forward to your updates as we follow this developing pandemic situation around the world. Thank you very much, Alfred.
Moving over to Thailand, as first case of Indian COVID variant detected, we have Cristel de Marupot reporting live. Hello, Cristel.
Hello, Crystal. Good afternoon. And here's the latest news on the first case of Indian COVID-19 variant here in Thailand. According to Thai PBS World, Thailand reported its first case of Indian COVID-19 variant, or B1617, in a Thai mother and her 4-year-old son, who have returned from Pakistan, according to CCSA Assistant Spokesperson Dr. Apisamai Srirangsan. The variant was detected in a 42-year-old pregnant Thai woman who arrived from Pakistan on April 24th with 3 sons that are aged 4, 6, and 8. They had a stopover in Dubai and they all went through state quarantine in a hotel. The pregnant woman stayed with his youngest son in one room while other 2 were in a different room. They all had a COVID-19 test on April 26th, and the mother and her 4-year-old son tested positive, while other 2 boys tested negative from the disease. Apisamai said, and I quote, "The whole genome sequencing method was used in the test by the Thai Red Cross Emerging Infectious Diseases Clinical Center of Chulalongkorn Hospital, which found and confirmed the Indian variant B1617, end of quote. This variant has been spreading in India since last October and has expanded to Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, the United Kingdom, Germany, the United States, Japan, Malaysia, and Bahrain. Dr. Apisamai also added that the Medical Science Department, the Disease Control Department, and all medical colleges have been placed on alert for the Indian variant, which may develop mutations in Thailand. Since May 1st, Crystal, the Thai Foreign Ministry has been limiting arrivals from India, as stated by CCSA Assistant Spokesperson. On May 8, 74 Thais, including 20 women and 54 men, arrived from India. 38 of them are in state quarantine and 36 are in alternative quarantine facilities. The Thai Ministry of Foreign Affairs has decided to temporarily suspend entry certificates to all foreigners traveling to Thailand from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal. Health officials are also concerned about illegal arrivals from neighboring countries such as Myanmar, Cambodia, Malaysia, and Laos, adding that a total of 1,126 illegal migrants have been arrested since May 1st, according to Dr. Apisamai. Back to you, Crystal.
Thank you for your time, Crystal, and for the update, and please stay safe there.
You too, Crystal. Stay safe and stay healthy. Reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand, this is Crystal Nicole Di Marucot. We live in interesting times.
In another news, an elderly French-Vietnamese woman failed Monday in her bid to sue Monsanto and other makers of the toxic chemical Agent Orange over its use by the U.S. as a weapon during the Vietnam War, after a French court ruled that the companies had legal immunity because they were working for a sovereign government. Tran Tonga, born in 1942, was then French Indochina, accused 14 agrochemicals firms of causing grievous harm to her and others by selling Agent Orange to the American military, which used the herbicide to devastating effect in Vietnam. The 79-year-old complainant who covered the 1955 to 1975 war as a reporter but has lived in France for the past 3 decades, also accused the companies of environmental damage. But a court in the Paris suburb of Évry ruled that the firms have been acting on the orders of and on behalf of the United States, and therefore enjoyed immunity from prosecution under international law, which prevents one country from judging the actions of another, or birth defects. Campaigns groups estimate that 4 million people in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia were exposed to the 76 million liters or 20 million gallons of Agent Orange sprayed by U.S. forces to destroy ground cover and food sources in its battle with Communist North Vietnamese troops between 1962 and 1971. Vietnam blames it for severe birth defects in 150,000 children.
And back here in the country, according to the Joint Task Force Central and 6th Infantry Division Commander, Major General Juvimax Hay said that the local terrorist group, Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters, or the BIF, they're using irregular warfare where they use bombs and target civilians and communities. In accordance with the directive of President Duterte, Major General Hay said they will do everything to put an end to terrorism in Mindanao. Take a look.
Paki ang BIFF ay trying to project its strength na ganun pa sila kalakas. Ang grupong ito ay in a very manageable situation. Ang isa lang po nilang ginagawang taktika ay ang tinatawag naming irregular warfare. Ang paggagamit ng bomba na ang tinataan ng improvised explosive device na ang commonly tinatawag ay bomba, na ang tinatarget po ay hindi lang military kundi ang tinatarget ay civilian population at saka civilian communities. Ang inyong armed forces ay palaging ginagampanan ng aming tungkulin ang aming pag-protect sa mga civilian communities at lalong-lalo na yung mga civilians, nating mga kababayan. Pinapaalam po namin sa aming kababayan ayon sa direktiba ng ating Pangulo sa utos ng aming Chief of Staff, si General Subihana, na kailangan naming wakasan itong terorismo. Ang mga tao sa bayan ng Dato Paglas ay normal na po ang situation simula pa nung Sabado. Hindi po tumagal yung sinasabi nila na nakuha nila yung bayan ng Dato Paglas, lalong-lalo na yung market. Umabot lang po ito ng mga 15 minutes, sila ay nagpaputok pataas habang sila ay paalis sa bayan ng Dato Paglas. Isa lang po ang nakita, ang iniwan nila ay mga unexploded ordnance na kung saan ay hindi po yun buo na IED ng makita ng ating mga sundalo. Sa mabilis na pag-responde at saka pag-trabaho ng ating mga sundalo, hindi sila tumagal sa lugar na yon, umalis sila kaagad-agad, Ma'am Rocky.
Meanwhile, Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP Chief of Staff General Cirilito Sobejana, urged residents and local government officials in Maguindanao to be more vigilant following the botched attack of Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters in Datu Paglas Town on Saturday. While the situation has already stabilized, Sobejana said the AFP will not stop until the threat posed by the BIFF terrorists is neutralized.
Please stay tuned as Asean in Focus will be right back.
Tayong mga Filipino, likas na palabati. Sanay rin tayong makipagkamay. Pero dahil na rin sa COVID pandemic, isinusulong ang pagbati na hindi na kailangan pang makipagkamay. Ang pambansang pagbati. Ito ay ang pagdampi ng kanang palad sa gitnang bahagi ng dibdib, kasabay ng bahagyang pagyukod ng ulo o paibabang tingin, at pagsambit ng mga salitang nagpapahayag ng pagbati, paggalang o pagpupugay. Pagkatapos nito ay ang pag-angat ng ulo ng nakangiti at nakatingin sa mata ng binabati. Pambansang pagbati, pagpapakita ng paggalang, kababaang loob at pagiging sensero nating mga Filipino.
Salamat musika, lahat ng panahon, maaasahan ka. Salamat musika, itong munting mundo ay napapasigla. Salamat musika, salamat.
Welcome back. The Philippines' gross domestic product shrank by 4.2% in the first quarter of this year. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, this is less compared to the 8.3% shrinking of the Philippine GDP in the fourth quarter. The PSA said the contributors to the decline were the following industries: construction, 24.2%, other services, 38.0%, real estate and ownership of dwellings, 13.2%. The following industries, on the other hand, were the main contributors to growth: financial and insurance activities, 5.2%, public administration and defense compulsory social activities, 7.5%, human health and social work activities, 11.7%, the information and communication, manufacturing and electricity, steam, water and waste management managed to grow during that period at 6.3%, 0.5% and 1.9% respectively. The PSA said among the major economic sectors, agriculture, forestry and fishing declined by minus 1.2% in the first quarter of 2021.
The Philippine economy likely expanded by 1.5% in the first 3 months of 2021, Moody's Analytics said. This projection is better than the domestic economy's negative 8.3% output in the last quarter of last year. In a report dated May 7, released Monday, Moody's Analytics said risks to recovery have not mitigated. It said, quote, the volatile course of the pandemic continues, which the resurgence of COVID-19 virus cases in India and stronger waves in Japan and the Philippines, among others. High transmission risk from newer variants and slow vaccination rollouts, weakened by supply shortages or logistically snags, remain pertinent factors until countries aggressively move towards herd immunity. Economic managers said 2021 is a recovery year for the Philippines, with the gross domestic program or GDP target set between 6.5 to 7.5%. They lean this growth target on optimism on the government's COVID-19 vaccination program, as well as on higher spending for infrastructure spending.
And some good news here. A total of 8,745 employees of the Manila City government will soon receive their mid-year bonus after the mayor, Francisco Isko Moreno Domagoso, approved the release of 350 million peso budget on Monday. The budget will come from the 2021 executive budget. Take a look.
At may pera na. Mga kapwa ko kawani, yung ating tuloy ang ating mid-year bonus. Sabi ko na makapalakpak si Julius, wagas Ayan basta kung ano yung due para sa inyo, ibibigay natin. Kahit na talagang hirap na hirap tayo. Hindi ko naman yan ikinukubli, kahit sa totoo lamang po, parang yung bimpo, pigang-piga na eh. Pero, tayo o kayo, kahit papaano, tayo, ang dami na nawalan ng trabaho sa pandemya to. Tayo mga taong gobyerno, hindi tayo nawalan ng trabaho. So, tapos ngayon, meron pa tayong konting porbetsyo. Although karapatan natin to, pero siguro wala namang masama na suklian natin to ng tapat na paglilingkod and create an extra mile to serve the people.
Now, the mayor said this will reflect on their payroll accounts starting May 18. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, Dumagoso said in a statement that they must honor the mid-year bonus agreement. He said this is to at least alleviate the difficulties of our employees in the city government because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
COVID job maker BioNTech said Monday it would build the Southeast Asia headquarters and manufacturing site in Singapore to produce hundreds of millions of mRNA-based vaccines per year. The German company said in a statement that construction of the site will start this year and it could become operational by 2023. The Singapore production site will be the German company's first mRNA manufacturing facility outside Europe and will have an estimated capacity of several 100 million doses of such vaccines. The vaccine produced by BioNTech jointly with Pfizer of the United States became the first COVID-19 job to be approved for use in the West late last year. It is now supplying more than 90 countries worldwide and is expecting to ramp up its production to up to 3 billion doses by the end of the year from 2.5 billion doses expected previously.
And let's now get the latest coronavirus situation in Vietnam, where it reported its first death from anaphylaxis after a COVID-19 vaccination. That and more. Joining us live is Chriselle Lacuna from our EBC Vietnam Bureau. Hello, Chriselle.
Hello, Alma. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Yes, for our COVID-19 tally, Vietnam's Ministry of Health recorded 28 local COVID-19 infections in Hanoi, Bac Ninh, Vinh Phuc, Bac Giang, Lang Son, and Haidong on Tuesday morning, raising the country's tally to 3,489 with 2,618 recoveries and 35 deaths. With our first headline, overcoming COVID-19 outbreaks is top priority, Prime Minister says. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh reiterated that stamping out COVID-19 outbreaks is now the central task and top priority during a meeting on COVID-19 responses held on Monday afternoon. The government chief urged the Ministry of Health to have clear answers on how many doses of vaccines that Vietnam could receive in the coming time, requesting the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to proactively participate in seeking vaccine supply sources. He also ordered more field hospitals to stay prepared for possible rise of entrants. According to Deputy Minister of Health Do Xuan Thuy, the COVID-19 outbreaks have been basically put under control as new community cases confirmed over the past days had been quarantined. Thus, the risk of transmissions is low. On another headline, Hanoi, Vietnam requires no more than 10 people to gather. Hanoi on Tuesday announced to ban gatherings of more than 10 people and suspend certain food and beverages places in vulnerable areas amid rising coronavirus fears. All meetings and other non-essential events with large gatherings will be suspended. Essential ones would require approval from authorities, and the number of participants must not exceed half of the venue's maximum capacity, it said. People are required to stay 2 meters away from each other in public, and coronavirus prevention measures like mask wearing must be abided by. For places that sell food and beverages near hospitals, only takeaways are allowed. Vietnam is currently facing its toughest COVID-19 wave yet, which has seen 486 community cases in 26 cities and provinces since late last month. On Monday, 125 community cases were recorded in a single day, the highest daily infection tally observed ever since the disease appeared in Vietnam early last year. And Vietnam reports first death from anaphylaxis after COVID-19 vaccination. A female health worker in the southern province of An Giang died from anaphylaxis on Friday after receiving AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, said the Vietnamese Ministry of Health. The 35-year-old woman who was working at Tan Cha Region General Hospital got the vaccine jab on Thursday, said Tu Quoc Tuan, the director of An Giang Provincial Department of Health. After the injection, she went into shock and was treated by the hospital in accordance with the protocol and with support from experts and doctors of the An Giang Provincial Health General Hospital and Ho Chi Minh City-based Cho Rai Hospital via online consultation. She was then taken to An Giang Provincial General Hospital, said the Ministry of Health, and asked the Cho Rai Hospital to send intensive care specialist for emergency assistance, but she did not survive. Anaphylaxis is a severe life-threatening allergic reaction that occurs rarely after vaccination, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That's the update from Vietnam. Back to you, Alma.
Thank you very much, Chriselle, for your update. Thank you for your time and good to see you back.
Thank you so much, Alma. Stay safe and stay healthy. Reporting from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, I am Chriselle Yacona. We live in interesting times.
Forward Chris Nivares became the 8th Filipino who will see action in this year's Tokyo Olympics. Let's listen in.
Alam naman po namin na may chance siya na makapasok sa selection po sa wildcard, kaso di pa po kami nagse-celebrate. Tapos nung kanina lang po yung official, kaninang umaga, nalaman po namin. Tapos ayun po, yung emosyon di po maipaliwanag kanina. Mula nung nag-umpisa po ako sa rowing, yung lahat ng pinaghirapan ng rowing para maabot po yung Olympic ulit after 20 years po. Ang ano po talaga ng rowing, yung karamihan po talaga 10 years bago ma-achieve yung ganun. Tapos ako na-achieve ko siya ng 5.5 years lang po.
The Philippine Rowing Association, or PRA, confirmed the development on Monday. Asked for his reaction, Philippine Sports Commission Chairman Butch Ramirez said he is expecting Nivares to pull it through. Nivares finished 9th overall in the Olympic qualifiers recently in Tokyo. However, with a lot of factors like Japan, which won 4 regatta events in the qualifiers, also hosting the Olympics, the world rankings, and some universality rules, Nivares got the nod. He will join weightlifter Ridelin Diaz, boxers Yumir Marshall, Irish Magno Nesty Pitesio, and Carlo Paalang, gymnast Carlos Yulo, and pole vaulter EJ Ubiena as the Philippines' representatives to the Tokyo Olympics.
Thank you, Crystal, for joining me today. Thank you for keeping me company.
Thank you also, Alma. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nation. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I am Crystal Ann Ballesteros from your EBC Cambodia Bureau, bringing you the news. And we live in interesting times.
Thank you very much, Crystal. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
This program is supported by Security Bank,